Hello, Mr. Chapo. Is this Mr. Chapo? Hi, everybody. Hi, Chapo listeners. This is Derek Davison of the Foreign Exchanges newsletter and the American Prestige podcast. I want to thank Chris particularly for giving me a couple of minutes here to make a couple of points at the top of this episode. You're about to hear me and the boys discuss the situation in Ukraine and Russia. Uh, Although the episode is coming out here at the end of the week, we had this conversation on Tuesday evening, East Coast time in the U.S., and it's now Thursday morning as I'm recording this, and obviously the situation has changed quite a bit. So I wanted to point out what's happened. I'm sure many of you are already aware of what's happened. But essentially, Vladimir Putin on Thursday morning, Russian time, early Thursday morning, delivered a speech. It may have been pre-recorded. They, I think, tried to pass it off as live, but there are indications it was recorded a couple of days ago. Delivered a speech announcing a Russian invasion of Ukraine. He called it a special military operation to protect Ukraine's separatist Donbass region, the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, both of which Putin recognized as independent states earlier this week on Monday. Uh, I don't want to try to give a blow by blow of what's happened since then because any information I give you right now is going to be outdated by the time most of you listen to this. So let's just say that the impression that I get so far is that this is a much wider invasion. It's not just an invasion of the Donbass or an invasion to secure the Donbass for these two people's republics. There are reports of missile attacks and some ground fighting in places like Kharkiv, which is a city in the second largest city in Ukraine. It's in the east. Odessa, Ukraine's main port city in the southern Ukraine. This looks like a much wider operation. It looks like it could be in fact, the nightmare scenario of the full invasion, regime change war that the Biden administration has been warning about, that other folks have been warning about for several weeks now. I have to confess, I did not think that this was coming. I don't remember exactly what I said in the show, but my mindset going into that discussion was that I thought, having recognized the independence of Donetsk and Luhansk, that some form of military conflict was probably all but inevitable. But I didn't expect it to be the full blown invasion. And again, it may still not be that. These early attacks may be meant to kind of decapitate Ukraine's military capabilities before a more limited invasion of the Donbass. But there are some things that suggest it's a bigger war, not just the reports of fighting in places that are far outside the Donbass, but also some of the rhetoric Putin has been using in his speech on Monday, where he recognized the two republics as independent. He basically discounted the very notion of Ukrainian statehood, which is troubling language to use. I don't want to get into his interpretation of history, but it's not the kind of language you use if you're just planning to go occupy a little piece of a place. He also talked on Thursday in his speech announcing the invasion, announcing the war. Talked about the need to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. We can, get into questions of denazification. That's fine. But the upshot, I think, for, in terms of what's happening right now, is there's no way to do that without a full-blown invasion and occupation of the country, not just an invasion, like an actual military occupation for some time to set up a new government. That's the kind of thing that this implies, something akin to, let's say, the U.S. invasion of Iraq. Part of the reason I've had a difficult time believing that this is what was going to happen is because I think it is an act of borderline insanity. It's far from clear that the Russian military can win an extended occupation in a country of about 44, 45 million people, most of whom have spent the last 8 years growing to hate Vladimir Putin and Russia. So I'm stunned, really, in a way that this is the course that they've chosen, because I think it's going to be a very, very difficult lift for them, and I think there were other ways to fulfill their objectives. But yeah, the upshot is, again, I don't remember exactly what I said in the episode, but I was not expecting what happened, so I probably said some things that would have suggested something less than this. And again, we have to wait and see how this all fully shakes out. It's very early. There's a lot of fog of war, and so I just wanted to kind of get everybody as up to date as I could without within the confines of the podcast medium, which is not great for breaking news like this. Also, one last thing. If Chris leaves it in the interview, and I don't know if he will, I blanked out in the middle of the interview on the name of the head of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, Sergei Narishkin, who was one of the people who got scolded by Putin in their strange cabinet security council, not cabinet security council, really, meeting on Monday for flubbing his lines. So I just wanted to say his name, and I feel, like I've at least overcome that. It was a real kind of brain fart moment, and I apologize for that. So that's it. Again, thanks to Chris and thanks to the boys for having me on, and also for giving me a few minutes here at the top of the show to kind of set the stage for what's actually happened since we had our conversation. And thanks to all of you for listening. It feels a little strange to say enjoy the interview under these circumstances, so I'll just say take care of yourselves, and I'm sure I speak for all the Chapo crew when I say if you are in Ukraine, or if you have loved ones in Ukraine, our thoughts are with them and with you.
All right, so it's Chapo coming in hot on 2/22/22, the most important date in all of numerology, because it's the date when Vladimir Putin has decided to invade Ukraine, or at least the beginnings of an invasion, as according to our president, Joe Brandon. We said we never learn about it, but we are forced by world events to once again talk Ukraine. And to help us along, it's the number one foreign policy expert in the world, Derek Davison, back again of Foreign Exchanges. Derek,
yes,
welcome.
Thank you. Foreign Exchanges and American Prestige. Don't forget the podcast.
American Prestige. Well, I mean,
I'll get yelled at by Bessner if I don't say that.
Well,
so,
I mean, American Prestige, that's a thing in short supply these days, as Vladimir Putin's forces rampage all over the Donbas region of Ukraine. And Joe Brandon,
they're
our
dabbing
commander,
on us, folks.
They are. They saw
the dastardly Slav is dabbing all over us.
I want to just get get an executive summary of the last few weeks and how we've gotten to this point. But I want to begin by asking Derek, did you see the epic dunk that the U.S. Embassy in Kiev landed on all of Russia today?
Oh man, all the lulls or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it was like a bofa.
Yeah, so
for Russia. I mean, they're just they're never going to recover from that.
So
they have to delete their accounts.
Okay. So check this out. Okay, so this is the U.S. Embassy in Kiev is doing memes, and the meme was comparing
just that sentence.
Yeah, I know. Comparing like architectural treasures and world cultural historical landmarks in Kiev in the 9th, 10th, and 11th century, and then it was like Moscow at the intervening years, and it's just like a dirt-strewn forest. Which is interesting because they seem to be making the argument that Ukraine is the heart of the Slavic Empire.
I mean, Kiev and Rus much? Come on.
Yeah.
No, the Moscow and Rus.
Yeah, it's you could use the same series of pictures to argue that Ukraine should be part of Russia. It's also
that's exactly
this is
right. Yeah.
literally from 1100 years ago.
You could
Like,
also
who gives a
you
shit?
could also use it to make the argument that the United States, which
Yes.
didn't have any of those cool buildings standing until like 200 years ago, shouldn't be in charge of anything.
I would love to
Yeah,
see. I would love to see the
it's
Chinese consulate in DC do a similar one for Beijing and DC around similar time period.
this like all I don't know what it is with Ukraine, but you could the Ukrainian foreign ministry itself, like all American diplomatic entities in Ukraine, they all do like the most fucking like Imgur memes. It's crazy. There's just something about like the literary voice of Ukraine where they're always doing memes that were hot in like 2014. I mean, is it the Reddit country? I don't know, but like especially this last week, where it's like, okay, well, you like got Zelensky to do what you wanted after he like got elected as being kind of dovish to Russia. You got what you wanted. They called your bluff. Everyone's making fun of NATO, but you get to do socially awkward penguin at Putin now.
Okay, it's worth the Havana syndrome to be able to do that kind of epic internet.
That's right. Yeah,
dunkery.
I'll take the ray gun and the memes. Let's do it.
I guess like Derek, like just could you do your best, like sort of narrate like how you got to this point now. Like it seems like the last few weeks of escalating tensions have gone from they're definitely going to invade tomorrow to it looks like they're going to attack this week to they have invaded or they've done a limited invasion or as Biden said this afternoon, it looks like an invasion. So like I mean like what is going on here? Like how did this situation escalate and like how does it relate to like Putin or Russia announcing today that they are yesterday that they are recognizing these two breakaway republics?
Right. So, I mean, we've been in sort of a cycle here since 2014, but the most recent iteration of that cycle started in November. Russia started moving military assets back into the southwestern part of the country, suspiciously near Ukraine, and carrying out military exercises. Again, this is something they've done over and over again, and pretty much every time they've done it for a few years now the United States is warned that an invasion is, imminent and that they're massing up for something. This time, the deployment was significantly bigger, I would say, than in past instances. They put forces in Belarus to conduct joint exercises with the Belarusian military. They did exercises in Crimea. They did exercises in the Black Sea, naval exercises. So kind of surrounding Ukraine with a very large force. That's what sparked this kind of steady drumbeat from the U.S. It was then picked up by especially the UK, but other European governments, that there was an imminent invasion coming. If you read, there are a couple of commentators I've seen suggesting this, and I mean, I don't think they have any deep insight, but it seems like initially the Ukrainian government kind of looked at this situation and said, well, we're not sure an actual invasion is coming, but if we kind of play into this, we could get weapons, we could get some, aid, we could get something out of the West to
It's
support
it's
us.
free javelins. It's
Exactly,
free
it's free
javelins.
javelins, it's
I
all
mean,
all the stuff we need.
it's nice for Ukraine where their army is rumored to just like the second that they get American weapons, small arms and shit, they just instantly sell them. They just
Yeah, I mean,
instantly flip them.
they hand them over to or they turn them around or they hand them to the paramilitaries, which are the guys that are really of concern ideologically. Uh, I can't, I don't think you can call them neo Nazis, just actual old school Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it seems like they played into this for a while, but then the drumbeat got louder and it continued on kind of steadily over weeks and weeks and really started to affect the Ukrainian economy. International airlines stopped flying into Ukraine, or they sort of started hinting that we're not going to fly in without supplemental insurance, and there was other big impacts on the Ukrainian economy, and consequently, the Ukrainian president Volodymyr Zelensky, TV star turned politician, uh, sort of maybe 3-4 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more than that at this point, started saying, maybe you guys could cool it with the imminent invasion talk because it's crashing my economy, and we really don't see the same information that you see. alongside all of this, there's been a flurry of diplomacy. There have been meetings between Antony Blinken and Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister. Meetings between Vladimir Putin and Emmanuel Macron and Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany. You may have seen the comically oversized table that he had them sitting at. uh and there's been this kind of back and forth, like they're going to invade Wednesday at 7:30, or they're going to invade this weekend. They're going to invade. It's imminent, it's imminent, and the Russians have drawn this out. Last week, I guess it's all blurred together for me. The last 2 weeks have like become a complete blur. But they even suggested that they were kind of done with the military exercises, and they were going to start to bring soldiers back to base. That proved to be maybe some misdirection on their part.